protectors of the Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of our series on the stories from the Quran. Stories from the Quran. And today we're going to do the story of the people of the book. And I mean, the people of the ditch, the story of the people of the ditch. And let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen so everyone can see the story as I detail it. Okay, so this is the story of the people of the ditch. And Allah speaks about this story in the Quran. And I want you guys to remember 1/3 of the Quran consists of stories from the people that came before us. And the reason why Allah gives us the stories of the people that came before us is for us to learn from their mistakes. And he mentions this. He says in the interpretation of the meaning, by the heavens that hold the big stars, and by the promised day of judgment, and by the witnessing day, and by the day of Arafat, cursed were the people of the ditch, of fire fed with fuel, when they sat by the fire and they witnessed what they were doing against the believers by burning them. And they had no fault except that they believed in Allah, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. And Allah is witness over everything. Verily, those who put to trial the believing men and believing women by torturing them and do not turn in repentance to Allah, they will have the punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the fire. So here we spoke about in our class before this, how just saying that we believe in Allah is not enough. We have to show that through our actions. And what happened was these people, the people of the ditch, they proved to Allah that they didn't just say they believed in him, but they proved it by sacrificing even their lives for that. And Allah lets it be known that anytime a person is sincere in their belief, and anytime a person has that certainty of faith, that purity of intention that we spoke about, anytime we have those 7 conditions of that shahada within our heart, we will be people of paradise. And those who try to hurt us will bring upon themselves the punishment of Allah. So let's talk about what happened here. There's a hadith where our prophet details what happened to these people. He said that there used to live a king who had a court magician. And as the magician grew old, the magician went to the king and said, "O king, I have grown old. So send me a young boy so I can teach him my magic." So the king sent him a young boy so that he could train him in magic. On his way to meet with the magician, the young boy found a monk sitting in the middle of the road. And the monk was talking to a lot of people who were gathered around. The young boy listened to the monk's talk and he was impressed by what he was saying. And then the boy left from there and went to his training. And so it became his habit that every day on his way to see the magician to be trained in magic, he would stop by and listen to the monk speaking. And he would often arrive at the magician's late, and the magician would beat him for coming late. So one day the boy complained to the monk and told him, every time I come late to see the magician, he beats me. So the monk told him, well, do this. The next time you arrive late, tell the magician that the reason why you were late was because your family detained you. And then when you get home, tell your family that the reason that you are late is because the magician detained you. And the boy did that. So one day while he was en route, a huge beast of prey blocked the road and the people couldn't get past. So the young boy said, well, this is the day that I will learn who is better, the magician or the monk, since nobody can pass by this beast. So the young boy picked up a rock and he said, oh Allah, if the monk is dearer to you than the magician, then cause this animal to die so that the people can move about freely. Okay. The boy then threw the rock towards the beast, and the rock hit the beast and killed it. And the people were able to move around it. So the young boy went to the monk and he told the monk what happened. And the monk said, Subhanallah, today you are better than me. He said, you called upon Allah and Allah answered you. He said, soon you will be put to a test. And when you are put to that test, do not mention my name to anyone. And so after that, the young boy began to treat. Allah blessed the young boy with the ability to treat those who were blind and to cure those who were suffering from leprosy. In fact, the young boy began to cure people from all kinds of sicknesses. Now, the king had an advisor that used to advise him in his court, but the advisor had gone blind. When the advisor heard that the boy could heal the blind, he went to him with numerous gifts. And he said, if you can cure me of my blindness so I can take my seat back amongst the king, then I will give you all these gifts I have. So the young boy said, I don't do the curing. It is Allah who cures. And if you affirm La ilaha illallah, then I will make dua asking Allah to cure you. So the man declared that there is no God but Allah, and he is the only one worthy of worship. And then Allah cured the man of his blindness. And the man took his seat back at court next to the king. And when the king saw him, he said, wait a minute, you used to be blind. Who gave you back your eyesight? And the king said, the man said, Allah, my Lord, gave me back my eyesight. The king was shocked and said, do you mean that your Lord is someone other than me? The man said, yes, my Lord. He's not only my Lord, but he is your Lord too. And he is Allah. The king got angry and he grabbed the man and began to beat him until the man told him that he was cured by the young boy. So the king released the man and he had his men go and fetch the young boy. And the king said to him, young boy, it has been told to me that you have become proficient in magic to the point that you can cure the blind and people who are suffering from leprosy. The boy told the king, I don't cure anyone. It is Allah who does the curing. The king grabbed hold of the boy and he began to beat him. He beat him so bad that the young boy eventually gave the name of the monk. And so the king asked for the monk to come present. And when the monk was presented before him, the king told him, turn away from your religion. But the monk refused. The king then ordered for a saw to be brought and given to him. And when his men gave him the saw, the king placed it in the middle of the monk's head and sawed the monk in two. Then, after the king had killed the monk, he ordered that the man who used to sit by him in his court come forward. And he told him, denounce your religion. If you fail to denounce it, I will kill you. The man also refused. And so the king took the saw and sawed this man's head in half too. After that, the king sent for the boy, and he told the boy, turn away from your religion. The boy refused too. But in his case, the king said, do this. He told his men, take this boy to such and such a mountain and make him climb to the top of it. And when he reaches the top, ask him to denounce his faith. If he refuses to denounce it, then throw him off the mountain. So the men took the boy and they took him up the mountain. And he said, oh Allah, save me from these men, however you would like to save me. And then the mountain began to shake and the men all fell down and died. The boy climbed down from the mountain and he went back to the king. And the king looked at him and said, what are you doing here? What happened to the men who were supposed to throw you off the mountain? The boy said, Allah saved me from them. So the king then called for more men, and he told his men, take this boy, put him in a small boat, and when you reach the middle of the ocean, ask him to denounce his religion. If he does not denounce the religion, then throw him into the ocean. So the king's men took the boy, they put him in a boat, and the boy called upon Allah. He said, oh Allah, save me from what these men want to do to me. And the boat began to shake, and the boat turned over, and all the men were drowned. The boy managed to swim back to shore, and he went back to the king's palace. And when the king saw him, he said, what has happened to the men that were supposed to throw you off the boat? The boy said, Allah has saved me from them. And then he looked at the king and he told the king, you can do what you want to me, but you will never be able to kill me unless you take me to a tree and hang me by its trunk and then shoot me with an arrow. But before you pull the arrow, you have to say, in the name of Allah, the Lord of the worlds, then I will be able to die. So here you can see this young boy was willing to risk his life for the sake of Allah. And this is what we talked about, guys. We talked about the conditions of Shahada. You know, don't just say you believe that Allah is the only one worthy of worship. You have to have certainty in that. You have to have sincerity in that belief. You have to accept all that comes with that belief. You have to have purity of intentions in that belief. You have to love what Allah loves and hate what Allah hates, all of that. This boy had that. And he wanted this man, this king, to accept that Allah is the king of Alameen. And if the king didn't, he knew that if the people saw him die from this, he knew that the people would embrace Allah. So this boy was willing to sacrifice his life for Allah. So he told the king, this is the only way you will be able to kill me. So the kings ordered that everybody in the kingdom meet him in an open field to watch what he does. And so the king had his men tie the boy to a trunk of a tree, And the king took an arrow and said, in the name of Allah and the Lord of the young man. And then he released the arrow, and the arrow hit the boy in his temple. And when the arrow hit his temple, the boy placed his hand on the arrow and he died. And when the people saw that, the people all fell down to their knees. And they said, we affirm our belief in Allah, the Lord of this young man. And we affirm our belief in the Lord of this young man. And then when the king saw that, and even his men said, do you see that Allah has done what you were unable to do? His men said, you were unable to kill that boy. So you're not God, but God himself did what you could not do. He said, and as a result, everyone has attested to their belief in Allah and not in you. This made the king angry because he saw how the boy had tricked him. So what the king did was he commanded that ditches be dug at certain points in the road. And after the ditches were dug, he ordered fire to be lit inside the ditches. And then he told the people, denounce your religion, or I will have you thrown into the fire. The people refused to denounce their belief in Allah because, again, they had the certainty of faith. Again, they had sincerity in what they believed. They accepted the statement, and they also knew without any question that Allah is Allah. So rather than denounce their religion, the people allowed themselves to be thrown into the fire, except for one woman. The last person was a woman who had a baby in her arms. She did not want to jump in the fire because she feared for the baby. But the baby spoke and said, oh, mother, endure this ordeal because this is the truth. And without hesitating any further, the woman smiled, and they didn't have to throw her into the fire. She jumped into it. So subhanallah, that's the story of the people of the ditch. This story shows the conditions of the Shahada, how if you are true to those 7 conditions, you will be able to handle yourself in any situation. You will find the strength to get through whatever trial you have and make the right choice. The choice that's pleasing to Allah, not the choice that's displeasing to him. But it all depends on having that certainty of faith, that sincerity of intentions, that sincerity of heart, that acceptance, that submission, and loving what Allah loves and hating what Allah hates, like these people did. How many of us could be like those people? If you were told to walk into the fire, would you walk into it? Or would you sit there clinging to this earth? Would you denounce your faith just to appease your life here on earth? Powerful story. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for today. Inshallah, the next class I have tonight is the Hadith class. It will be at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please make sure everybody is here for it. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.